Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri RMJN Group of Schools, we welcome you to our online learning initiative, Ekalaiva. Hello students, welcome to the online English class for class 6. Students, do you like fantasy stories where magic plays a very important role? For example, in stories like Cinderella, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, and the recent and the most popular, Harry Potter, some amusing magical events happen, isn't it? Some supernatural characters perform wonderful tricks to help or to protect somebody. I am sure you all will be excited when you read such stories. Now you may wonder why I am saying all this. The lesson which you are about to learn is one such story. The name of the lesson is The Tempest, and the author is William Shakespeare. In this lesson also, magic plays a very important role. Before we begin, let's get to know about William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born at Stratford-upon-Avon in England. He is both a playwright and a poet. A play is a story written in the form of dialogues. It is staged and performed by actors. Shakespeare has written 38 plays and 154 sonnets. Sonnets are poems which have 14 lines. Shakespeare is known as the father of English drama, and he is also celebrated as England's national poet. He is also nicknamed as Bard of Avon. Bard means poet, poet of Avon, because Avon is his birthplace. The Tempest is originally a play, but it is presented to you in the form of a story. Let me introduce you to the main characters of the story. Prospero. He is a wise wizard. Miranda, Prospero's daughter. Now, you must understand who is a wizard. A wizard is an expert in performing magical tricks. Now, Prospero is a wizard. There are some supernatural characters. They are Sycorax, Caliban, and Ariel. The other important characters are Ferdinand, Alonso's son, Antonio, the Duke of Milan, and Alonso, the King of Naples. Now we have become familiar with the characters. Now let's begin reading the story. For easy understanding, I have divided this story into small parts. Now I am presenting to you the first part. The Tempest. The word tempest means violent storm. Violent storm means a very strong wind. I am beginning to read the introduction given in your textbook, children. Please follow as I read. The Tempest is one of the last plays written by Shakespeare. This is the story of the Tempest. Set in the 15th century on a Mediterranean island, the story describes how magic helps to right an old wrong. From this introduction, we understand that magic is helping to correct an old wrong. What was the old wrong, and how is magic going to help to rectify it? Let's read further. Students, I am beginning to read the story. Please follow as I read, and I will explain line by line. A violent storm was raging over the island. On a beach, not far from the mouth of his cave, stood Prospero, the wizard, his white hair and beard streaming out in the wind, his black robes flapping around him. Now, what do we understand from this? A violent storm was blowing with great force over the island. A violent storm means a strong wind was blowing over the island with great force. On a beach means seashore. On a seashore, near his cave, Prospero the wizard was standing. His white hair and beard was just moving freely in the wind, and his black robes. Black robes means black dress. It's a long dress. Robe means dress. His black robes was just shaking around him side to side because of the wind. As he raised his left hand, thunder rumbled. He lifted the staff in his right hand and forked. Lightning crackled, flickering like snake tongues across the inky clouds. Now we know that Prospero is a wizard. He is causing this storm. When he raises his left hand, it thunders. And he is lifting his right hand. He is having a staff in his right hand. A staff is a magical stick which the wizards will have. When he raises the staff in his right hand, there is lightning. And how is the lightning? It's flickering. Flickering means shining quickly and brightly across the inky clouds. It's shining across the dark clouds and it appears like the protruding tongues of snakes. Now you may observe in this picture given in your textbook, Prospero is standing on the beach and he is causing the storm. And there is a ship in the sea. But what will happen to the ship when there is a storm? Let's proceed. Out at the sea, a ship with broken masts and tattered sails rolled about helplessly as the storm drove it towards a jagged coral reef. Out at sea, a ship with broken masts and tattered sails rolled about helplessly as the storm drove it towards a jagged coral reef. Now, at the sea, there was a ship which was in danger because of the storm. The sails of the ship was tattered. Sails means it's an important part which helps to catch the wind to make the ship move. Tattered means it was just torn to pieces. And mast is also an important part which helps to hold the sail. Both the masts and the sails are tattered and broken, and the ship is just pushed towards a jagged coral reef, means a rough and sharp coral rock. Coral rock means coral, reef means coral rock. A lovely young woman in a white gown hurried out of the cave and ran towards Prospero, her dark hair whipping about her face. A lovely young woman. Now, a lovely young woman who was wearing a white gown ran out of the cave towards Prospero. Her dark hair was just whipping about her face. Her dark hair was just floating over her face. She caught the wizard by the sleeve and called out, "Father." So she is calling out to Prospero, "Father." Students, I told you in the introduction of the characters, who was Prospero's daughter? Yes, she is Miranda. Now Prospero's daughter is calling out to him, "Father." Prospero seemed not to hear her. His eyes stayed firmly fixed on the ship. Now Prospero didn't listen to her. His eyes was just fixed on the ship. "Father," shouted the young woman, "what are you doing? Everyone aboard that ship will be killed." Now Miranda is again shouting out to him, "Father, what are you doing?" She is worried and she is saying, "Because of the storm which you are causing, everyone inside that ship will be killed." Above the sound of the wind came a groaning crash of timber striking rock. A huge wave reared up like a startled horse and thundered down on the ship, making it vanish from sight. Now, louder than the sound of the wind, there was a crashing noise which was heard. and it sounded as though timber was striking on a rock. A timber is a kind of a wood, so the sound was as though timber was striking on a rock. This sound was caused because the ship had banged against the rock, isn't it? A huge wave reared up like a startled horse and thundered down on the ship. Now there was a huge wave. Students, you know what is wave? It is water rising and falling in the sea is wave. Now this wave is very high. It is raising itself very high like a startled horse. It is raising itself high like a horse which is jumping because of sudden shock. The wave is so high and it thundered down on the ship and it just fell on the ship. The wave rised very high and it fell on the ship, making it vanish from sight. After this, the ship is nowhere to be seen. The wave fell on the ship and the ship disappeared from sight. Prospero lowered his hands. The wind dropped to a gentle breeze, and the sun glinted on a calm sea. Now Prospero lowered his hands. The storm has subsided. Wind has become gentle breeze, and there is sunshine on the island. No one has been harmed, Miranda, said Prospero. Everything is as I planned. Prospero is now answering his daughter. Miranda, he says, no one has been harmed and everything is as I planned. Now, Prospero has planned this storm. For your sake, I have used my magic to help right a great wrong done long ago. He is saying, I have caused the storm for your sake. He has done it for his daughter Miranda. He has used his magic to correct a great wrong that happened long ago. What is wrong, father? Miranda asked with a puzzled frown. Now, Miranda is surprised. She is also confused. According to Miranda, everything is fine. She is living peacefully and happily with her father, Prospero. But suddenly she is hearing from her father that something is wrong. So she is asking with a puzzled frown. Puzzled means she is unable to understand what was her father trying to say. Frown means a facial expression indicating disapproval. Now, what was the wrong which Prospero is talking about? And how is Prospero going to correct it? Using his magic? We also need to wait for the next part to know about it. To summarize today's class, I would like to say Prospero was a wizard who was living with his daughter Miranda on an island. One day, he caused a wild storm to make a ship on the sea to come to his island. Prospero's daughter Miranda tried to prevent him, but Prospero assured that no harm will happen. Prospero wanted to undo a wrong that had happened many years ago. This is a small recapitulation for you students. Try to answer these questions in your own words. Who caused the storm? Who was Prospero? Who was Miranda? Why did Miranda shout out to Prospero? What was Prospero's reply to Miranda? Students, with this, we come to an end of the first session of the Tempest. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story as I enjoyed presenting it to you. Meet you in yet another interesting session of the Tempest. Bye, students.